catch up on this meeting. And so we're officially getting started on our May 2025 meeting at 7:39. A few minutes late, we have Chief Bisa French here. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The minutes have been sent out to our mailing list, which is close to 500 right now. Did anyone notice anything in the minutes that they'd like to correct? Looks like they were good, so I'm going to move that we accept the meetings and get started.
Second.
Thank you, Edie, and let's get going. Let's start. Sergeant Tatius, are you presenting today on behalf of the police department, or are you here with Chief French?
I am here in case there's questions about evacuations. I believe Officer Walker is the one who's doing the presentation in terms of crime stats. I don't know if you can do that first or have the chief speak regarding the other stuff.
Okay, I don't see him. So what we'll do is what we always do. We'll just move forward
here.
with the meet. Oh, she's here. I'm sorry.
Yes, Officer Walker's here.
Oh, okay. That was somebody in uniform I didn't recognize. My apologies, Officer Walker. You are not a familiar face to me.
That's okay. It's nice to meet everyone.
Hey, welcome to our neighborhood. What do you got to tell us?
So let's see. Recently, in the past 30 days, you guys have had 225 calls for service. There's been 2 arrests. Good news is that you guys don't really have a whole lot going on. There was a couple thefts, 3 vandalisms, 2 auto burglaries. There was 1 mental health episode, 1 residential burglary, 1 robbery, and 1 domestic violence call. Those are pretty much the big ones of note. But all around, relatively not too bad.
A neighbor that of mine who witnessed a disturbing incident asked me to chime in. I do not see her here, but she works late, so I'm going to chime in on her behalf. She witnessed an unstable person who was screaming in a tortured way with at nobody, and then proceeded to take some kind of bricks or cinder blocks and bash 2 car windows in front of the mechanics bank at the ATM, and then smash the ATM. The athletic neighbor followed her at a safe distance and was able to identify, Lisa, this is why your phone's been ringing, to the Shore Stay Motel, where the neighbor was able to identify within 1 or 2 rooms on either side where that person went and provide a description. So that happened. One of the things I'd like to say, and whoever might have knowledge can answer this from the RPD, I guess the kind of question is, we are being continuously reassured that mentally ill people are not being housed there without appropriate treatment. I believe, Michelle, that the city's official program is not housing them there. We feel that some of the subcontractors that we pay millions to might be housing them there. I just read an article about one of those organizations who said, I have to respond when we have problems when we're putting people in motels. So that's, I don't want to call that organization out, Jesse. I won't do that. What's going on to Shore Stay? Mental illness is mental illness, but somebody who's that mentally ill is probably not paying her own way there. Does anyone have any idea? Lieutenant Dacius, maybe?
As far as I'm aware, of speaking with Michelle, nobody is being housed there on the dime of the city.
Yeah.
If there are any backdoor deals being done, I'm not aware of it. And I just saw Michelle. I don't know if she's leaving for the evening. She had some other meetings, but I can touch base with her and I'll let you know.
Sure.
Hopefully tomorrow or early next week. I'll give you a phone call, have a little conversation and see what I can find.
Thanks. And for the community, Lisa Johnson and I have been really kind of working on the Shore Stay with these sort of unattended mentally ill people for years. It's like 3 years now. I do believe that the city is not placing people there, but I believe their subcontractors are.
I agree 100%.
Thank you, Jesse. So I will be writing to Mother Jones, a little article to the editor to say things are not always rosy, even if you're a very progressive person and you care very much about folks. All right, so thank you very much, Officer Walker. Any more questions? Alisa, you have any question?
I have one. There was a report on May 12th of a sexual battery and assault on the 500 block of Wine Street, which is usually affiliated with the Washington Elementary School. And it said report to follow. So I'm just curious if that was associated, if you're at liberty to say if that was associated with the Washington Elementary School or somewhere near there.
At least
Community.
I will run the stats. I'm in my desk. Officer Walker's not in the office. She's actually doing us a favor and giving a presentation from home.
Okay.
So give me a little bit while I just take a peek at this, and then I'll let you know in a little bit.
Okay, thank you. I just, I don't know, Philip, maybe you can comment what the status is about the people that constantly park on East Richmond and Wine Street in those white vans.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah, and I mean, people have just consistently been concerned about that because of the young school, the young kids at that school. And some of those you cannot see in those vans. And nobody knows what can happen inside those vans. And that's why people have been wanting them to be removed for years and addressed. So if it still hasn't been, that's of
Yeah.
concern, has been for years.
Actually.
Lisa, I can help address that. This is Caesar. We are going to be putting up the signs that say no parking per Richmond Municipal Code of vehicles over 6 feet tall. So that will hopefully be a tool RPD can use to remove them immediately, at least targeting RVs and any tall vehicles like the ones that are parked on Wine Street. So hopefully that will help. Public Works said they're looking to make the signs, and it'll take them a couple of weeks, and then hopefully be able to install them shortly after.
Is that both on Wine Street and East Richmond?
Yeah, around that area there.
Okay,
Caesar,
thanks.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary Lee,
Yeah, hi.
that's your block.
I live there. I see them every day, and we now have 4 that regularly park. There's a larger RV that's in really pretty good shape. It looks like a younger man living there. He isn't always there, kind of, they make their rounds, but the 2 white vans and plus the black minivan is back. Guy, I forget his name. Our neighbors actually know him. Anyhow, they're now 4 regularly parking there, and I don't know who's in them, except I know the one lady is, but other than that, I just
Thanks, Mary Lee. We're also trying to get the city to decipher what we know to be true about Frogtown at the end of East Richmond, while they figure it out, because there is the idea that if they put a fence there to close off Frogtown, it will be both environmentally more sound, but also it will, that area is being used as a toilet and a dumping ground.
yeah,
And-
absolutely.
But the Public Works Department, even though I am an idiot, I got on the internet and showed that it belongs to the city, and they're arguing. So unfortunately, when my voice is heard, immediately Public Works and Assistant Public Works are going to shut down. So my husband's lived here almost 70 years. Please do not tell us what belongs to what, mostly when we can provide documentation. So it might be nice if we can shut that area off, because we are working with Caesar to see what, if any, emergency evacuation routes, which is our topic tonight, can be utilized there. I'm going to whiz through my part so that the chief can get going. We don't really have a lot of other business, so I don't think this meeting's going to go on, any longer than the chief will allow with her schedule and the community wants it to. The treasurer, no one has stepped forward for the treasurer position. So Margie Sullivan we're just going to keep her on and wait and see. She has volunteered to continue until somebody steps forward. So that's what's happening with that. I don't think anyone here wants that treasury position. It's not hard, but if you do, please let us know. James, do you want to be treasurer?
No.
Thank you. I mean, okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just figure I'd bring up the copper theft. That's number 4 within what, like a month?
We've had 6 in 6 weeks on my block. So we actually knew they were coming back one night, and one of our neighbors, it wasn't Jessie because it sounds like something she would do. One of my neighbors set their alarm and got up every hour and caught them because they had been unsuccessful the night before at getting the wire down, a gigantic piece on tunnel. And we knew they were going to come back and did call. But of course, by the time he called, he was afraid to go out into the street, even for the $10,000 reward. So by the time he called, it was too late to do anything.
Good for him.
Yeah, I know. It's the type of, I would expect it out of you, Jesse, Nancy Drew.
Exactly.
Philip, what
so
time
let
does
me
it occur at, if I could ask you, those copper wire thefts, what time are those occurring at?
It's in the night. So a couple weeks ago, they took 2 houses worth from next to me. So I got on next door as a superhero I am. I sleep with my windows open. The power lines are about 12 feet from my window. And I said, everybody be on the alert. And at 11:30 approximately, I thought I heard something, and I looked out and didn't see anything. And I woke up in the morning, all our tree branches and leaves were down. And somebody had climbed up in the trees and taken out the 2 houses in my house and my neighbor's house. And then they just keep working down the street. AT&T is literally here every day now. They come directly from San Leandro. They don't. The woman said she's asking if they could put her in a nearby motel, so she doesn't have to drive here every morning from San Leandro.
Tell her to come back with some concertina wire.
Yeah, well, I can smile, but I'm not going to comment. But I will say AT&T is not replacing that copper wire. They're replacing it with what do you call that? High speed stuff with fiber optics. So we're going to have fewer thefts, and this just may be the way it is. That these thieves may just steal all the copper wire. They don't need that copper wire anymore because we don't have phones, very many phones, landlines. So it will be. Yeah, some do, and people should, but they're still gonna have them. They're just not gonna be these thick wires. So we'll soon, and any officer can correct me. My understanding is that as they replace it, it becomes unprofitable to try to steal it, which is a separate conversation from the city-owned streetlights that we're working on. And Caesar pointed out recently that they're going solar on a lot of those experimentally. So there's a lot going on. It's really exciting. National Night Out this year, just a heads up, I sent it out in the newsletter. We've got months to go on it. We are not going to do a street party this year. We will be working with Michelle Milan. We hope to be the kickoff neighborhood. We'll see how that goes. We're going to bring it back to what National Night Out is intended to be, which is neighbors meeting neighbors. The board was getting a lot of positive feedback about the idea of doing something really small. So perhaps we might just have Taco Tuesday, open the community center, have a DJ, have the fairy lady because the kids love it. Pram will go in the street, and we just keep it contained in the triangle around the community center open, so we can really talk. And what I will do, what the PRNC is working on, is we will send out a questionnaire to you, and you can fill one out when you come, and you can tell the PRNC what you want us to focus on with our finances, and what are your major concerns, and any guests you'd like for us to hear. And it will become more of like a block situation than a street party. It never really took off, and it was a lot of work. So we're going to keep it much, much tighter than it has been. Pram will still have activities for the children. We will still pay for and sponsor activity for the children with Alexis Grace's help. Your dues are due. Pay them online using PayPal is the easiest way, or send a check. It's on the website. I sent it out the other day. We know that PayPal is broken. We know that you've paid. Eric is keeping track of it. And you will still get notices that says you're overdue. We don't know how to fix that. We're going to hire somebody to revamp our website to take a look at that. So please do pay your dues so you can vote and so we can continue to do stuff. The gardening project is underway, really spearheaded by Women's West Side. That is total renovation of the town triangle. Anything that's ugly or weedy or filled with dog poop or needs to be refreshed will be refreshed. So far, we have money coming. Money has arrived from Sims and Phillips 66. We have money from the Gateway Foundation. I think we're going to get some from Mechanics Bank. I feel certain that we're going to get some from Veolia. The more money I can bring in with grant money, the more we can do the project all at once, the more cost efficient we'll be. So that is slated to be finished by the end of summer. And as soon as we have a little more information, we'll kind of post a what's happening here notice with maybe some diagrams and you can follow through. As always, if I advertise or you see the logos of neighborhood businesses, even if it's a big business like Chevron or a small business like your beauty salon, please say thank you to those people. Those companies want to know that they're giving us donations and they're getting positive public response from it. So that's what I've got. Margie's out of town, so we're going to just skip the treasurer's report. Eric, what's anything to report on membership?
No, not so much, Phil, and good evening. We're no new members, so we're still at 195. We have had a number of folks pay dues, so thank you very much. We appreciate that, and that's it for the report.
Thank you. That's always a quick one. Now, I don't know if she needs much attention, although I often don't recognize her when her hair is down and she's not wearing law enforcement blue. I'm really grateful to welcome Chief Bisa French. It is a nice size meeting, so a lot of you showed up to hear from her. And part of the things we want to talk about is how the evacuation routes are working. This is a challenge because nobody seems to know any official reason or what they official way they are. And they are intending to put concrete curbs along the bike lanes. So as we hear that we're going to be able to enter and use the bike lanes, we also hear that there now will be a sort of, it's not really even a curb, it's like a twice size curb. You can see it in front of the Burger King. And the intention is that they will be on blocking the bike lanes on both sides. So that's the background that we were talking with Fire and with Sohail Yaban about, Chief, and it's all yours.
Thank you. So good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. That's good context because I didn't know that, and maybe I should be talking to the fire department and Sohail a little bit more about evacuation plans. But I'll start by giving you a brief overview of the current state of our department, and then I'll allow some time for questions. So for those that don't know me, my name is Bisa French. I am the Chief of Police here in the city of Richmond. I've been with the department for close to 28 years. And just as Lieutenant Disha said, he's preparing for retirement. I think I'll be leaving probably a little bit before him. So I'm also preparing. I'm also a Richmond resident, and so I do plan to stay within the city. Many of you know that our department has been challenged over the last probably about 4 years now with since COVID and defunding with staffing issues. And we have just unfortunately not been able to recover our staffing. We went from having about 200 officers about 15 years ago, and it's slowly decreasing. And then there was a huge jump in 2001 when we had the defunding effort. And so we've currently have 123 officers that we have for the entire city. And that includes myself, the assistant chief, the captains, all the way down to the officers that are still in training. So while that number is 123, really probably about high 90s are the officers that are actually working right now. And that's investigations, that's patrol. So last year we made some strides in hiring. We hired 23 new police officers. However, some of those did not make it through training. And then we also continue to lose officers for various reasons, to include resignations, people still leaving to go for work for other departments, injuries, officers get injured and can no longer do this job, and then retirements. So we've been hovering around that 123 to 125 mark for the last 3 years, really. We, even though we're hiring a lot of people, we just kind of been maintaining that same level over the last 3 years. We're doing all we can to recruit and we retain officers. We go to hiring events. We go to events where the officers, when they're being hired, before they're hired, they have to take a test and get what we call a T-score, and only certain places offer those tests for that T-score. And so what we've been doing is actually going to those places where the tests are being given and saying, hey, we're hiring, you're getting a T-score, come apply with us. We have these QR codes. We're just constantly trying to recruit. And that's been helpful, but still we're just not getting the numbers that we would like to get. Various reasons why people might not want to come work for Richmond. I know we've had a history of being a very active city, a lot of crime. Those numbers have been reduced over the years, but it's still, in comparison to many other cities, it's still a very busy city to work for. We're also been challenged with hiring dispatchers, and that's also something that we're seeing across the state, probably more across the nation, of a shortage of dispatchers. People just don't want to get into that field. So it's also been challenging to hire dispatchers. Our dispatch center also dispatches not only for our police department, but El Cerrito Police Department, our fire department, and we do what's called emergency medical dispatching, which a lot of centers don't do. We are one of 2 centers in the entire county that does emergency medical dispatching. So someone could go work in another city, possibly make more money and do a lot less work. So we're constantly juggling, how to recruit people to come work for us, knowing that it's a bigger job to do, but it's also a great city. So that's our selling point. Crime-wise, one area that we've seen a huge decline in, and I'm going to say this very quickly and I'm going to move on because I don't want to jinx us, are homicides. We actually have gone the longest time period in over 10 years, probably the entire time I've been here with the department, 28 years. This is the longest stretch that we've gone without a homicide, and I'm going to knock on wood and we're going to move past that. We've had decreases in crime, mainly because property crime, we've seen some decreases. Our violent crime has increased year over year, just slightly year over year, but overall for total crime, we've seen decreases. I don't necessarily like to talk about the crime data numbers, because when we say that, we're only really talking about Part 1 crimes, which are what the FBI nationally collects the information, the data for. But that doesn't take into account the things that affect most of you all and most of us that live in the city, and that's quality of life issues. And so I know that there was some mention of homelessness and mentally ill people. And those are the things that really impact us on a day-to-day basis. And I know some of those things can be frustrating. So I'm going to talk about the homeless encampments and unhoused for just a second. So there's a process that we have to follow per our city ordinance, where before we can abate an encampment, and the police department doesn't actually abate it, it's Public Works. But before that can happen, we have to have some shelter beds available, and we have to offer services. So Michelle Milam, who I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, she's a great resource to our department. She basically has a running list of all the encampments across the city. And so before we can do any abatement, she contacts the county core team, which we have a contract with, and we pay for those services. And core goes out and offers the services to the unhoused, meaning a shelter bed if it's available, or other resources that they might be able to offer. And it's only after that that if somebody refuses to go into shelter, that we can actually abate that particular property. For vehicles, it's the same thing, even though per law, you can only park in one particular location for 72 hours. Per our camping ordinance, we still have to offer a shelter bed before we're able to tow an RV or camper for that 72-hour time frame period. So I know that that can be frustrating. There's homeless encampments all throughout the city. And so sometimes it might take a little longer to abate something than people would like. But for our portion of it, and that's the contacting core and offering services, or going back and towing RVs or our vehicles, we're doing our best we can to get those abated as quickly as possible, because I do know that those do impact quality of life. I mean, there's lots of garbage that sometimes accumulates around these areas. Thefts can happen when there are unhoused people that in a certain area. So just lots of impact there. Next, just want to touch on abandoned vehicles. So we currently have 7 parking enforcement officers, which is the most that we've had in a long, long time. We just started to enforce street sweeping again, which has been a hot topic for many. I know that there's an area in your particular neighborhood where we're trying to get some clarification, because both sides of the street are marked for the same dates and times. So making for people having to find different parking on different streets. And so we're working with Public Works on some of those issues. It's not just down there on East Richmond. There's different areas across the city that are zoned to be commercial, and in commercial zones, it's the same on both sides of the street. So that's been a hot topic, doing the enforcement. And that, again, was a direction from our city council that they wanted enforcement to start. We started it in March, and we've been continuing since then. Another hot topic around the department and the city has been immigration enforcement. And I just want to say that, just in case anybody on here doesn't know, but the Richmond Police Department does not enforce immigration issues. We do not cooperate with this in any of the immigration enforcement. If there is a warrant for somebody's arrest that is signed by a judge, then we do cooperate with a warrant arrest, but not specifically for immigration. Normally it's for a crime. We do know that ICE has been in our city at various times, but looking for specific people. We have not been aware of any times when they've just been in the city, just stopping people on the street or anything like that. And I hope that it does not get to that point here in our city. We have a large undocumented community, and we want to make sure that they still feel comfortable contacting us to report crime. We did a series of community meetings earlier this year, just talking about what our position is in terms of immigration enforcement. And there's actually a law in California, SB 54, which prohibits any law enforcement agency from conducting immigration enforcement. And then lastly, I did ask Lieutenant Deschus to come on with me tonight, because he is the lieutenant over our traffic division. I know there were some questions about evacuations. I was not aware of the specific issue that you just talked about, Mr. Rosenthal. So what I will do is just ask Lieutenant Deschus to kind of just give you an overall view of what we do if in case there's an emergency. And we've been involved in evacuations through the fires up in Santa Rosa and other areas. So just because it hasn't happened here doesn't mean that we have not been involved in evacuation procedures. I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Decius.
Thank you, Chief. Philip, just for a little just context for me, I was on a meeting, I think a couple months ago with you guys when Chief Osario was speaking about some of the evacuation things. And I believe there was some discussion about East Richmond going on a canal, potentially opening, I think it was this meeting, opening up or having access to the rear of where the Marine store is in case of evacuation periods. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
So in terms of
Lisa, and by the way, Lisa Johnson's been working on that since 1841.
Okay.
So she can really comment on it. And
Right.
Caesar, with Caesar.
So in terms of the evacuation stuff, are there specific questions, or are you trying to find out like what specific routes we would use, or what our plan is, or how we would position people in certain areas? What is it that you guys are specifically inquiring about, just so I can narrow it down a little bit?
And just to clarify, evacuation plans, while there are routes, as we all know, we don't know where an emergency is going to occur. So we have to be nimble. We have to, we always, come up with a plan in the moment based on where the emergency is and filter from there.
So I'm going to jump on this on behalf of the feedback that I've received from the community. And then, of course, a lot of the community are here, so they can piggyback on my comments or questions. And a lot of this involves controversial discussion about bike lanes. And the fact, and I'll just let the community know, I have done public record searches. There is really no indication that when they were installed along Cutting, that there was any accommodation whatsoever for the trains. Public Works has told us that they were unaware of any issues with the trains, but I've got documentation that shows that they knew about it. But that was a different staff when they went in. So one of the challenges we want is that every single person here wants safe bike lanes. I have never heard anyone ask that they be completely removed. But the challenge is they're taking up. So as you are aware, Lieutenant Decius, because we've talked about it a lot, we don't have ways out now. And some of that does involve bike lanes. So U-turns that we used to be able to make when a train was blocking Wine Street. Now, if there's even one car at the train, we are literally trapped within the space between Girard and Cutting. So I am working with a Councilman Zepeda and Robert Stevens, who's company that we love. He works for the same company that Marcia Valier does. They laid down those lanes, and he has admitted that there are solutions, and we're just hoping that some of those happen. We need to be able, if a train is blocking the track, we need to be able to find an alternate route. Locals know that we can turn at used to be able to turn at Wine Street, go through the tunnel, end up on the other, as ridiculous as it might seem and as impractical, and end up on the other side of town and be able to escape onto Castro. The challenge is, and this is what we were discussing with the fire chief, is it doesn't really matter if the bike lanes are emergency vehicle, can accept emergency vehicles and our own vehicles, because when there is gridlock due to the trains, and I have hundreds of photos and video of times when we are entirely gridlocked, it doesn't matter if they can get to the elementary school using a bike lane, if they can't enter the bike lane, because they can't even get into town around Cutting and Girard. So, but in general, the challenge that we have is normally emergency evacuation routes, according to TRAC's TRAC, would have been coordinated with the county, and they would overlay the evacuation routes. And Lisa knows, of course, institutional knowledge about this as well. And also, they will have consulted with the school district, which is suffering. The elementary school is suffering because the pickup and drop off of children is now a little unclear because the county has an emergency evacuation for the school that doesn't exist anymore physically. The streets have changed. So that's kind of this part of the discussion because that's what we can control. And then I think part two of the question is, how can we work together as a community over the next year or two to see if we can actually maybe plan evacuations or at least have some widespread notification about evacuation routes, because it's going to be a mess here, and every single possible terrible thing that can happen all lies within Point Richmond and the one way in and one way out of the Brickyard Cove part of Point Richmond. So it's all bad enough. Plus we have exploding Chevron and Sims and industry. So that's sort of a little bit of what I'm throwing at you to see if you can make any comments. And it's a lot.
Kind of got me a little off guard. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's fine.
So, I mean,
Sir, with respectfully, we're having a dialogue. We're open to
no,
a dialogue
absolutely.
for meetings for after you're gone and relaxing.
Absolutely. So I am more than happy to sit down, be someone at the table that I mean, as a traffic guy, you know, like the rules of the road and things like that, and what is good, how we apply, you know, whether we have medians in some places that maybe need to be knocked out. We take out no U-turn signs. I mean, a bike lane's a bike lane. When I was a kid, we never had these protective barriers, right? We always just had a little white line, and then it was a little dotted line when you got a certain distance from the actual intersection. I mean, just to say this, for us, as the police, if we're going to assist with evacuations, we're going to look at, like I have Google Maps open right now just so I can look at and see what all the streets are and try to find the best route of escape. And in doing so, how we're going to try to do it the best way possible is lanes that have 2-lane roads, we're going to make it one direction. So, you know, we actually make it a little bit faster. And if that means in some of these streets, so you're talking about at Wine where you can't do U-turns and stuff, if that means we have to take out certain signs to better assist, those are recommendations that, in speaking with either Tafik, Robert Armijo, or Daniel Chavarria, maybe a little level with like a Carlos Castro from streets, if that's something that we need to do, because I know that just in looking at and from history of trying to get to certain areas in Point Richmond, if a train is blocking that canal and it's blocking West Cutting, and we have an emergency that we have to get to, we need to go all the way around. And there's been plenty of times where in my patrol car, when it was marked, I put my lights on and I drive backwards on West Cutting, which I'm allowed to do with my emergency lights, but it's something that a lot of the community doesn't want to do because they don't want to violate the law, but in an emergency aspect, they're going to have to. I don't know of these specific evacuation routes. I'll be transparent with that. And just like the chief had said, a lot's going to depend on whether there's some sort of a fire, there's an explosion, there's some other catastrophe that we're dealing with and we have to get people out.
I think from what I hear from you, there's specific concern over curbing that's been being put in the bike lanes. Did I hear that correctly?
The problem exists already, but when we had this discussion about how we were going to utilize them, there was so much going on that I neglected to mention that Lisa Johnson and I were in a meeting that they deliberately didn't want the public at, where gleefully the bike lane people were saying, oh, just wait till we put the great barricades in. And then the first one went in front of the Burger King. And I do understand why, because they're imperfect. Lieutenant Dacius, I will invite you at any time it's convenient to me. If you want to hop in my car or your car, I will drive you on this drive that I have taken many city officials on to show you specifically what used to happen and what didn't happen now. Chief French, yes, we are concerned because they can't keep claiming that the bike lanes are emergency evacuation lanes when the problem is that they are inaccessible if there is
Right.
even
So-
one train.
So
Yeah,
I think that's helpful context, and I think it would be helpful if you can show Lieutenant Decius exactly where we're talking about, because our voice saying, hey, for emergency vehicles, for emergency evacuations, we have an issue with this. It might help in the conversation. So yeah, I think that would be the next step, is to so that we can jot down and see for ourselves exactly where the concerns are, and then bring that ourselves to Public Works and see what we can do.
So,
Right.
hey, Philip, so I mean, there's a lot of different projects that have gone on in the city. And myself, and speaking with Chief Asari and other individuals at the fire department, when Public Works brings these plans, and it's things that have happened back when I think it was Patrick Phelan was part of the Public
you
Works.
think?
I see Lisa right there with that expression. He was very much into bicycles. And I think he was maybe the one that spearheaded a lot of this. But when Public Works currently brings a lot of projects to us, we give our insight, or try to, in terms of, so on Carlson, they're trying to do similar to, I think, like Barrett or 13th Street Rumrill. They're trying to make it 2 lane or 1 lane in each direction with center divide or a chicken lane, or I don't remember what exactly they are because there's so many, but we give our feedback as to, yes, this is good for us. We can actually still get from point A to point B. If there's traffic and there's an emergency, there's enough width for our patrol cars, but more importantly, enough width for fire rigs, which are obviously a lot larger than our patrol cars. So we've been better recently in having those conversations with Public Works. It hasn't always been as open as what it is now, and it's caused some problems. A lot of times it appears to me that things have just been kind of put into place without that dialogue, and without getting the input from the people that it affects the most. I mean, it's nice to say, hey, we've got these great bike lanes and that's wonderful, but if it affects 98% of the people in a negative or not a positive way, it's not great to do. I would be more than happy if you want to go next week. We can find a time. Monday's rough.
I'll email you, sir, and I will I will email you, and I will be at your service at your convenience.
Yeah,
It's
we'll find a
important.
time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And we'll drive around, we'll jump in my car in case we get stuck. We can turn some lights on and get out of the way. But yeah, we will definitely point it out. And then, like I said, I have a really good relationship with Daniel, Robert, Tafik, and a bunch of the individuals who are a little bit higher up, or the higher ups in Public Works. And
I assure you, they continue to double down on telling the community that was present at this meeting, and people like Lisa Johnson, who I am certain has put in 500 hours on this alone, blatant BS by saying it happened before they came, and we are told that this happened. You are correct. It was Patrick Phelan that was responsible for a lot of this.
well, even with it happening in the past, let's see if we can
Sure.
try to change it in the future. I mean, we can't change the past. My parents told me that for years, as much as I want to.
Sure.
See,
And I do want to point out, there's everything that my community has asked for. Robert Stevens drove along with me and said, I don't know how this happened. I warned them about this, and I have fixes. And so, and that, for those of you who have expressed concern about this safety of walking through the sidewalk on what was previously referred to as a sidewalk in the tunnel, that is now a mixed use bike lane and sidewalk, and there's a lot of danger for the kids. Robert Stevens has a solution for that too. And Caesar's aware of this. He's been with me on this ride. So let's do it. And then you can help me to create a dialogue that will hopefully be more effective.
I'd be more than happy to.
Thanks, you're a star.
On a side
Lisa.
note,
Yes,
Lisa
sir.
asked a question earlier about the sexual assault previously. Just so people know, it's not involving any vehicles in the area. It's, I would say it's not even really a sexual assault. That's how it came out. It was a report written, but ended up not being anything of major significance. So,
Thank you. And for the record, we are not blaming the sexual assault on the bike lanes because there'll be somebody on next door tomorrow saying I did that.
thanks for the
So,
clarification, Philip.
Lisa, you have a question. We're blaming everything else on him. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hey, that was funny. Sorry. Yeah, so Chief French, the meeting a couple months ago with Chief Osorio and Lieutenant Decius was on there. And Lieutenant Decius knows I've been harassing him. I'll say harassment, gentle harassment for the last few months, begging and pleading for him to be more vocal with Public Works and to get fire involved on the bike lane projects because Barrett and Cutting are they're there to say this is how it has gone wrong. And yet Public Works has just gone forward with Carlson, Harbor Way South, Harbor Way, and McBride, and all key evacuation routes and emergency vehicle routes in the city of Richmond. And I was begging and pleading for something for RFD and RPD to have a voice with Daniel Chavarria. They have a good relationship. It's not Joe Leach anymore. It's not the previous, right, folks that were doing this without proper community input and without true planning for the city. And that's what's happened. They've put all these routes on major thoroughfares that the police and fire need to quickly traverse the city to respond to incidents. And without, I think, really a good plan. And we didn't also have Richard Diaz. And so 2 months ago, we were, begging and pleading again for them to have some type of a voice. But ultimately, it's got to go to the city council. And I know Chief Sorio backed it, and I know Lieutenant Decius backed having these types of conversations. And maybe Caesar, you can chime in because we left that meeting 2 months ago with a theory that we would get some type of an action from the council to have a study session. Because before the city puts in millions and dollars of bike lanes and keeps going forward without the council, actually a new council, right, having the ability to weigh in and say, yes, we've got grant funding or taxpayer funding, but at the end of the day, is this plan really the best plan for the city? And that's what I think we're asking for, is the ability to say, is there a way to maybe put a break on something? To say, are we doing this smartly so that we're not screwing up emergency access and evacuation access in the incident, in case there's an incident with Chevron, there's a fire, earthquake, you name it, something could happen. So that's the context and where we left it. And so maybe Caesar can chime in.
Well, before Caesar, I don't know if he chimes in, I'll stop talking. But I do understand that. I don't think that the police department has the ability to stop anything that's going on. I think we can voice our concerns, which I have privately, because it affects me as a resident of this city. And in my professional capacity, I've seen cars just zooming through in that chicken lane on Barrett and nearly having accidents. And I'm not sure that that's the best thing. And especially as we talk about Carlson, I'm very concerned about the plans for the bike lanes on Carlson Boulevard. But so yes, we are available to lend our voices. I don't think that I don't know what the process, like who actually can say, hey, put this on the council agenda, I guess is what I'm saying to say.
I think it has to go to Caesar and we were trying to lean in to see, because they have that ad hoc fire committee now, him, Sohaila, and Jamila. And the question was, could that ad hoc committee be utilized to ask for a study session where Public Works, Fire, Police, and Richard Diaz as emergency, services director could bring this up and thoughtfully in a way that would, hopefully evoke honest conversation and what really is the best way to address this short term and long term for the city. But I just don't know. And I don't know if Caesar's still on the call or not. So,
Caesar, are you there? For those of you who don't attend these meetings a lot, Caesar is often multitasking at more than one meeting at a time. So I'm pretty sure he'll pop in. In the meanwhile, why don't we take Graham's question? Hi, Graham.
Hi, Phil. Thank you. Chief French, thank you to you and your team for turning up here this evening. I'd just like to discuss a slightly different topic. The management and control of crime. You're an expert in this area, and of course I'm not, but how many police do you think you need in your department to provide a reasonable level of assurance to the population here that crime will be kept under control? And what do you think is stopping officers from signing up or staying with the Richmond PD? And if it's a matter of money, how much do you think we would have to pay beginning officers to find working in Richmond attractive?
Sure. So I've done an evaluation of the things that I'm asked for by community members and meetings and other areas about how many officers do we actually really need. And I always say it's about 180. Now, there were two reports, a matrix report and there's another report, and now I'm forgetting the name of it. Lisa probably knows. She's well versed. There were two brief studies done by two different companies that looked at the data of our crime, looked at our calls for service, and they did an analysis on how many police officers we should have. One of the reports said we should have way over 200 officers, and the other report said it was just about 200 officers. I'm saying it's even less than that. I'm saying to really be able to do the things that we've always been able to do to provide the services that the community requests, I'm saying it's about 180. 200 would be great, but 180 I think is the sweet spot, the number that we need. Now, I don't think it's a matter of money right now because, again, we're at 123 officers. And for the last 3 years, we have not been able to get to our authorized number, which is 147. That's how many officers I'm authorized to hire. And we just haven't been able to get to that number. And even if all the money was there and we had the people, we don't have enough officers to train another 24 officers. That's our vacancy rate right now, 24. We don't have enough officers to train 24 people at one time. I think we hired 23 officers last year, and we were able to keep up with that. But anything more than that, we just background investigations, those are done by officers. We do outsource some, but just the whole hiring process and all the officers that it takes to get that process done, 23 is probably the maximum that we can hire in any given year. So that's what we're shooting for this year. So 180, I hope that we will be able to get to someday. 200, which is what the report said that we needed, would be awesome. We could do a lot with 200 officers. And then a couple things I think are affecting our ability to retain officers and recruit officers. One, nearly almost every department is hiring. And so we have to be competitive. And most of those departments are offering bonuses, signing bonuses when officers get hired. I did have a proposal to the city council about signing bonuses and retention bonuses for officers, and that has not been approved at this time. And then there are some things that going on internally within the city that affects retention. And I think the biggest thing right now is what's going on with the police commission. And we've had a police commission my entire career. While we don't always agree with the findings that the police commission, and for those that don't know, the CPRC, which is the Community Police Review Commission, is a commission that's appointed by the mayor, and they people are able to make complaints to the CPRC about officers. Normally it's use of force or discrimination based on race or something like that. Based on the protected classes, I should say. And the configuration of the CPRC has changed a lot over the last probably year and a half to 2 years. And so there's some decisions that the CPRC has made that my officers are really, the best word, I guess, would be concerned about. Not just my officers, I'm concerned about it. So while they have their own investigator that investigates the complaints that are made about the police officers, we have no issue with that. We've always had investigations into our officers' actions. We have our own Office of Professional Accountability that investigates our officers' actions, and then the CPRC does their own investigations. Recently, probably close to maybe 9-10 months ago, the investigator for the CPRC conducted an investigation into a shooting that we were involved in, actually on Sanderling Island. And the investigator found that there was no wrongdoing on the parts of our officers. That was one of 3 investigations that were done in that shooting. We did our own internal investigation. The DA's office did an investigation, and then the CPRC had their own investigator do an investigation, and all 3 found that the officers acted within policy. Actually, we were the only ones that sustained an officer on a violation, and that's because he didn't have his camera on. When the investigator presented his findings to the actual commission, they found that our officers acted with excessive force, and based on no factual evidence. All the evidence actually cleared officers, but yet the commission said, no, excessive force, they shouldn't have shot and killed him. So the investigator resigned after that, and he actually wrote a very long letter that indicated that he did not believe that the commission is acting in a fair and impartial manner, and that they are just dismissing facts just to go based on their own feelings about things. And he felt like he could no longer work with the commission based on this. He's an attorney, and he felt like ethically he could not work with this configuration of the commission. And so my officers are very concerned about that. They're concerned that their names are going to be dragged through the mud on cases that the CPRC is investigating. They are trying to expand their powers right now. So if you're familiar with the police commissions in Oakland and San Francisco, they have a lot more power. They can fire the police chief. They can punish officers and fire officers. And so our officers don't want to stick around to see if they're going to be, a victim of the CPRC. They don't want their name tainted based on personal feelings rather than the facts of a case. And so that's probably the biggest thing that's affecting our department and our ability to retain officers right now, and actually recruit officers. The other thing is that we've heard from candidates is that they don't feel like our city has a lot of support from our council, unfortunately. Nowadays, when I got hired, I just wanted a job. Nowadays, the people that we're hiring, they are watching city council meetings. They are very in tune with what's going on in the city. And they have the right, they have the ability to choose where they want to go work because everybody's hiring and people are offering bonuses. So why come to a city where they don't feel like they're going to be supported in the commission or sometimes with council when they can go somewhere else that's a more supportive environment? So those are our
Whatever.
challenges.
Thank you,
well,
Chief. Whatever, I
uh,
just wanted to make a quick comment and jump on that, Graham, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but whatever your politics concerning policing, I think our community should be incredibly concerned if we have a council member on a review committee who has already moved millions of dollars off the police force and has, as per stated manifesto, committed to trying to reduce the police budget to zero. And that's a direct quote. And anyone who wants to find out about it, I'm happy to send you that communication. So we need to be really concerned for someone who believes the police shouldn't exist to be reviewing in such a horrifying way to pass judgment from our city council chamber on somebody who walked into a house full of a dangerous criminal with a house full of guns and, if I recall correctly, bombs.
Had over 50 guns and rifles in the home.
Right.
And had a gun in his hand.
And is proposing that we should have sent a social worker into the situation. And I wish I was kidding, but basically I'm paraphrasing the reality. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Graham. I apologize.
Thanks, Phil. Well, Chief, thank you very much for being so candid. I think that's explanation is something which quite a few of us have sort of suspected. I am concerned, I'm sure most people are, that you're only at about 65 to 70% of what you consider to be a reasonable level of staffing to keep us all safe. So I guess the next question is, what can we as a community sort of help you to get a better hearing from our so-called representatives, and how can we sort of help in any other way to give you a fair shot at doing the sort of job that I'm sure you would like to do?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the willingness to help. Your voices need to be heard. When we went through the defunding back in 2021, the only reason why $10 million wasn't taken out of our budget and I didn't have to lay off 34 officers was because I got in the community and I got everybody together to say, hey, you need to show up and have your voices heard at council or else this is going to happen. And they ended up not, taking the 10 million. So I didn't have to lay off 34 officers, but they did take my 12 positions that had been vacated by officers that didn't want to stick around to see if they were going to have a job or not. So as these discussions continue, so the last couple of city council meetings, not last night, but the two prior, there were some items on the agenda that talked about what the CPRC is trying to do. And when those discussions are happening, you have to lend your voice to the conversation. Otherwise, there are a group of people, the same people, some of them that don't even live here in the city, some getting paid to go to the council meetings to talk about these issues. And they are the loudest voices. So those are the ones that many council members listen to. And so if you're not being heard, then they figure that, everybody's fine with what's going on and reducing the police force. So I think, I know Lisa is very involved and, I have to be very careful in how I get get the support, but
we don't have to be careful.
Right. So, if you're aware of what's going on, if the message goes out to your community about things that are on the agenda, I just urge you to call in and lend your voice.
Thank you, Chief, and thanks for Thanks, Graham, because that's burning a lot of our butts, what the chief was referring to. Lisa, if you could wrap up so we have any more questions. I am grateful for Lieutenant Dacius and definitely for the chief who has a lot on her plate. So I do want to let them get home. And certainly maybe invite you back,
Thank
because
you.
it's been a good meeting.
I'm actually in Tennessee and it's close to 11 o'clock. So
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all.
I have one question for Chief French, but before that, I'll just say to Graham, we really need people in the community to speak up at council meetings. I'm telling you, they have a Rolodex of the same 10 people. They reside at RPA headquarters. That's where they are. They are now paying people $50 for a negative comment about RPD. They've published this. So anybody who wants to call with a negative comment about RPD, you can call them and they'll pay you $50. So if you are at all concerned and you want everybody to feel safe within your community, you need to lend your voice. And I would say you can go to the council meeting from May 20th. You can look up an item that was discussing an ethics investigation into why the investigator resigned. Chief French can't really go into that for obvious reasons, but 8 months ago, he resigned. And I will just say this so you all know the facts. The city attorney blocked him from speaking at closed session to the city council. The city attorney. So if you guys want to know what's going on, listen to that conversation on May 20th. Go to the supplemental meetings minutes. There's evidence in there about what's going on in the supplemental minutes for everybody to read and see how corrupt it is. And it's blatant corruption. And I'll leave it at that. And I'll let you guys go. And you guys, I just encourage you to get along, to get active and to call in and ask. And when a council majority denies an ethics investigation, you should be very concerned. They denied it on May 20th. An ethics investigation. That should scare the bejeebas out of all of you because it's just like what's going on in DC. So, Chief French, my question to you is, I know like San Francisco last March, they passed a voter measure. It was called Measure E. And I don't know if there's any discussion with staff or anything like that to do a voter initiative, because I just don't have, I'm not convinced that the majority council is going to go for something like this to help you guys get minimum police staffing, because I think we tried that in 2022, but the council majority refused to put it on the ballot for the voters to have a say. So San Francisco also in 2024 put something on there which minimized the amount of administrative time that police officers are committed to. And there was a few ways they went about doing that in Measure E, which I think was really good. They also have now implemented speed cameras in various hot places in San Francisco, and they're getting up to 1,000 tickets a day. Came out in the San Francisco Chronicle. So I think there are ways to help free up administrative times. And one of the things that I know, and I don't know how much the public is aware of this, and the crime stats go down in certain areas like property theft. And some people say that's because people just don't report. And we don't have an online reporting system anymore. So how much is that impacting RPD officer time? Because they now have to go to people and take a report. So when you have limited policing time, how is that potentially adversely affecting your officers' time? And is there a plan to address the online reporting again?
Yeah, so the online reporting was a victim of our sanctuary city policy. So we used a company called Lexipol to actually, was it Lexipol? What is it? Okay, Lexipol.
Top Logic.
Lexus
Top Logic.
Next.
Top Logic.
Isn't that LexisNexis?
LexisNexis,
bought
that's what it is.
CopLogic.
Lexa
LexisNexis.
pulls the policy.
Yeah, okay. LexisNexis is the overall company that has CopLogic, which was our report writing system. And LexisNexis is a huge company, and they refused to sign our sanctuary city policy. And so we had to stop using it. We are looking at other systems. Anything that we choose will be way more money than we've had to pay in the past. I think we paid $10,000 a year for our CopLogic, which was the online reporting, and any other systems probably going to be $60,000 plus, just to comply with the sanctuary. I don't want to say just to comply, because the sanctuary city policy is important, but so we are evaluating other systems. We don't have the money in our budget for that. We didn't, plan for that. So we're hoping to find a solution that we will have in place before the end of the year. And then what was your other question? Oh, does it impact the impact? Yeah, so officers are responding to lower level calls for service now that they weren't responding to before, because we would refer people to online reporting. Now we have to take reports. Officers are taking the time to take the reports for things like a lost wallet, or their car was broken into and there's no suspect information. And so they have to go and take those reports.
Yeah.
So there is an impact to responding to crime.
I think Measure E is a good thing to consider for Richmond. It may help.
All right. Well, are there any more questions from the community? Because it's late down south. Chief, with all of the balls that you juggle, I can't tell you how grateful the community is that you could find this much time. Lieutenant Dacius, I'll reach out to you and we'll take a little drive. I'd love to be in a police car. And
Let's see.
it appears that the community likes these crime prevention meetings. So, hopefully we can do them a couple times a year instead of just once a year. We're grateful for your time. We're grateful that you put your lives on the line for us. And thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, good
Thank
night.
you very much. Thank you.
All right, good night.
And neighbors, will be easily able to catch up on this time, because we've got a light schedule moving forward. Let's start with our community briefs with Charmaine Tyler. What's going on with CERT, Charmaine?
The good thing is that we have just graduated in another class of CERT students. And I think there were about 37 people from Richmond that got certified. Now, CERT is Community Emergency Response Team. And that's people who are trained that can kind of, quote, hold the fort down until professionals arrive, first responders arrive. So then the other thing I want to report is that the city is getting its budget process going, and I really don't know how FEMA is affecting anything, because CERT is a community organization that comes out of FEMA. And if anybody knows anything about what's going on in Washington, D.C., you may know more about it than I do, but we don't know. We just don't know what's happening with FEMA. And that also might affect any funding in the city for emergency responding. So that's a question. Maybe we can get some answers after, I don't know, somebody knows something. You know how things go. There's like decisions are made off the cuff and on a national level, and then court cases start happening, and we don't know what actually gets sued and what gets resolved. I'm kind of being vague here, but I think you guys understand what's going on. It's nationwide. So stay tuned and let's see what we can do to learn more about Is there a FEMA, not a FEMA? Is it funded? Is our emergency response system going to be funded in the city of Richmond? It's an issue. So anyway, I just want to report that. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Charmaine. Bonnie Jo?
Yes, I'm taking a deep breath after I have to lower my blood pressure after that
Ugh.
the police report. I don't have much to report from the History Association other than that we will have the museum open again this year for the summer music series and any of the other events that occur downtown in the community. But I've been asked by Susan White, the West Side Branch librarian, to make an announcement concerning the mental health workshop, the second in a series of 4 that is taking place this Saturday in the library. The workshop is with Dr. Hannah Song, and it expands on the first workshop and dives deeper into topics such as loneliness, depression, and family dynamics. It's a 2-hour workshop. Includes time for confidential discussion, question and answers, lunch provided. And it sounds like something that probably the CPRC should go to. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie Jo. For those of you who want more details, the easiest thing, there's a big poster on the corner by the kiosk about the event. You can just stop by and take a look at that. Margie's out of town. Kate, it's been a couple of weeks, a couple of times since we've seen you, between you not feeling well and you being busy. Welcome back. What's going on with Magic Lantern?
Hi there. Yeah, I'm so glad I got the right night to join your meeting. That's always a really interesting time to go, Dear Philip, am I the only one who can't get into the meeting tonight? Oh, Kate, it's last night. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Good sense of humor. Appreciate that. Yeah, we were a little overtaxed. So our last film last month was Secret Ingredients, a documentary that our own Dr. Jeff Ritterman in our meeting, yes, hi Jeff, featured along with the filmmaker Jeff Smith of Marin, who had a special interest in looking at the health effects of Roundup and GMO foods. So this has been seeing that film really helped me move my health issues along. So I was very, very interested to again feature this film and have Jeff come and address a very willing audience to learn more about this. That being said, we had that meeting or that film in April. Our audiovisual man was not able to attend, which the ladies and I are the volunteers, and we went into a panic. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Heavy equipment, all kinds of setup issues just became problematic. So we're taking the rest of the summer off. Instead of showing summer great oldies but goodies films, we're going to dive deep into our equipment and see about getting different equipment or whatever we need to do to lighten the load and make this in case we have another event like that. And look also into advertising for a second audiovisual person to be the training along with our primary. So whew, that one, it went off okay, but I was learning how to do the whatever that I'd always let. We've been doing this for 7 years and I never bothered to learn the equipment. Well, I did that night and we made it all right. And Jeff was a wonderful speaker and people were very, very happy that he came. So we'll be back again for the fall membership, going on our 8th year. Amazing, amazing to be also in the beautiful Methodist Church, second Saturday of the month. So we'll reconvene then.
Really nice there. Thanks, Kate. Hey, Jeff, could you unmute and just let us know, for those of us who weren't able to see the movie that Kate sponsored, is this something that we can watch online, or, is there another way for us to access this film?
I don't know. Kate, do you know?
Your best bet at the moment is to get a $25 copy from Amazon. It used to be available online and for free, but those years have passed since it came out in 2018. So your best bet is to get a copy of the film from Amazon for $25.
Yeah. The topic's interesting, but it's always better when it's one of our own, somebody we can run into in the street. And
Well,
hopefully not
anyone
injured.
can ask me about it, and if anyone gets it, we could do a home showing. I'd be happy to do that and, have a nice discussion.
Thank you, Jeff. Layla, what's going on with the little ones? You still with us?
Yes, hi, thank you guys. What's going on at Prim these days? We are gearing up for Washington Elementary's last day of school, Wednesday, June 11th, and we're having our 4th annual ice cream social for the kids that are graduating and just the end of the school day. And always there are rentals available for birthday parties on weekends. You can do half days or full days. Just check our calendar at pram.net. We also have, I believe, a summer camp coming up that will be on our website as well. We've also noticed, if you guys happen to see people, or you guys were talking about the homeless folks around the school, there was one sleeping this afternoon at 5:30 across the school. And then we've been having some issues with people hiding out in the back of Pram. It's very dark over there. They have access sometimes to power, because we have a couple outlets that go to outside, and sometimes they don't get turned off, and people know that they can plug in their devices or whatever. Paraphernalia has been left in our yard, and some feces. So just, of course, not everyone's walking around there at night, but if you do happen to see someone loitering or something, just email us, let us know. We're working on getting, I don't know if we're gonna get security cameras, but maybe some extra lights out there. And then lastly, for Pram, we are maybe going to start hosting a Cub Scouts. We are trying to get a Scouts going for boys and girls from kinder to 5th grade meeting, going to be held at Pram. This is in infancy. I was approached to get families together to see if we could actually get this going. There are no actual Cub Scouts in Richmond. People have to go to El Cerrito, Pinole, wherever. I'm too lazy for that, so I'd rather just make my own and we'll go to Pram. So I'll look out for some information about that coming up, and we will be leaving flyers around town, at the library, at the school, at Pram. And I will post some information on the contact for that if anyone has kids or grandkids, friends or family that are interested in, and again, starting Scouts in Richmond. And that's the end of me.
Layla, get with me so we can send a notice out. I do want to make 2 comments. A while back, this was when I was first president. There was a Girl Scout troop who was desperately looking for a place to meet. They wanted to use the community center, and I was very upset that that couldn't be coordinated. So I did refer them to you. I'm going to look through my records and see if I can find that. And if you want Girl Scouts and Girl Scouts need a place to meet, hopefully I can make that connection. The other unpleasant thing I do want to talk about is to make sure, and I know everyone in this meeting now, nobody has little children except for you. Every morning I go through Janus Playground on Washington and Nickel, and it is not, the reason I go through really early is it is not uncommon to find feces and drug needles. And I know that oftentimes kids are rambunctious, and a parent will open the gate and the kid just goes barreling into the play space. And that's why I take that moment to take a look, not because it's my responsibility to clean the playground, but just kind of a gentle reminder that it only takes a moment for something really unfortunate and possibly dangerous to happen with a little kid. So it's just a
Thank you very
sign.
much.
It's a time of this. It's a sign of the times, you know.
Yeah.
And we can all keep an eye out. And if you see a biohazard or and I've talked to Michelle Milan about this. If you see needles or biohazards and you're not comfortable with them, picking them up, do call police non-emergency, and Public Works will come out and send kind of a hazmat guy with gloves and the proper equipment. Thank you. I'm sorry that you're having that experience,
All
Layla,
right.
but I'm
No
not
worries.
surprised.
And yeah, the Girl
Mm.
Scouts did use that space. They did reach out and they did use it, and they are
Okay.
no longer using it. But we're gonna start a Cub Scouts for boys and girls
Okay.
together. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's great. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And keep me informed so I can send it out because we do reach a lot of people with little kids,
Will do.
even though they frequently don't attend the meetings.
Would that be something that I could put in the neighborhood flyer for you guys?
Sure.
Thanks.
As a matter of fact, if you get it to, we can talk about it
Okay.
offline.
All right.
You know, we
Thank you.
will do in our neighborhood news mailing, and that goes 4,000 families. And I'm very happy. I'm thrilled to put that kind of stuff in there instead of just reporting the PRNC stuff.
And thanks, Philip.
That was my
Oh,
daughter.
you're welcome. You're welcome, sweetheart. Anybody want to mention anything at Brickyard Cove? Charmaine, anything particularly sexy going on, or you're muted?
Is this for general comments?
Yeah, it just, if anybody has
No,
anything to report about the HOAs, we're happy to hear it.
The Air Board, which has now changed its name to Bay Area Air District, has $15 million worth of grant money for Richmond, earmarked for Richmond. So obviously it needs to be related to air quality. But if anyone is part of an organization or knows of an organization that would want to write a grant, that's a lot of money, 15 million earmarked completely for Richmond. And so there'll be an announcement about that pretty soon. And that's available. The other thing is, if anyone knows of people who don't have any health insurance and need free medical care, I'm the medical director now of Free Clinic in Oakland, and people can just get in touch with me, jeffritterman@gmail.com.
Thanks, that's a blessing, Jeff. Jeff, is that the grant that the 15 million you're talking about, is that the money that was part of one of the numerous Chevron settlements?
Well, it comes from Valero and Chevron, and whenever they
Okay.
get slapped on the wrist and they have to pay for their violations, and that gets dumped into the pot. And Benicia has a very big amount. Richmond has a very big amount. San Francisco and Oakland, much smaller amounts. It's based on how much pollution there is in your area, and the priority is for environmental justice. So for communities that are particularly affected, North Richmond would be one, but I think Richmond in general is another.
Thanks for clarifying. And for those of you who don't follow this, that is not the one I'm talking about. Chevron has a $20 million similar. And the exciting thing, it sounds like the grant money you're talking about is a similar concept. The $20 million Chevron settlement is supposed to emanate outwards from the actual facility, from the refinery, and the closest neighborhoods first get their money, and then that emanates outwards. So that's not, because there's hands reaching for all this money all the time. So we'll be keeping you informed when it comes time to make sure that we, and I attend those meetings, to make sure that we get our fair share of the money. And that can be anything from planting trees to providing, there's conversations about providing air purification machines, which are not a great solution, but some people really want them, to anything that involves mitigating pollution. Jeff, thank you. That was a significant thing to mention. I appreciate it.
What you're talking about was the deal
Mhm.
for making polluters pay, I think.
Right, right. But it sounds similar, that the communities most affected get
Absolutely.
first dibs with the money.
And one of the
that's
other
what's important.
concepts is to change to electrification in people's homes from gas.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to talk to you more about that one-on-one someday. LUDRC has nothing, Charmaine, so I don't have anything for you guys. Do you? I don't think you have anything, right?
No, we have no projects at the moment, so we're ready to accept them for June's meeting.
And that is where we were picking up our 10 minutes that I told you we'd catch up on. Maskers, anybody want to chime in? No, they're busy. The Pete lines out the door. Peter, did Cordell contact you and tell you what was served at any recent meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
So there were 7 people on the dais, 23 people were on Zoom, 3 people were in the audience, so physically not very well attended. Fire Chief Losario presented on the map of some high fire zones. They also had city staff providing their reports, and Cordell suggested they invite Sydney Howell to present on the diabetes for seniors over 60. And then that's it. So
thank you.
He doesn't mention what they ate. So
yeah, everyone who knows Cordell knows he loves to review a menu.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, only 1 or 2 people from each neighborhood council can actually sort of be representatives at these meetings. I'm the current person since Lisa is no longer on our board, and I can't always attend those meetings. I frequently can't. It's just one meeting too many. So that's why I go to as many as I can, but I will talk to the board and see if if amongst ourselves, someone wants to chime in. And great, Peter. I would love it if you would, because I know you love them. They're very interesting.
Yeah,
so
I'd be happy to go.
Yeah, whatever you see here, it's a much more intense version of it there. It's really
Right.
cool. Thanks. That would be great, and we'll talk about it. Great. I just don't always can. Richmond tennis, I just got a text from Gary. I'm exhausted because I have just shepherded 2 of our groups to, what did he say? Just got home from RTA practice with 2 playoff bound teams. I'm pretty wasted. So that means that where he came from, these was matches where we are now again playoff bound. Unbelievable for a town like Richmond to be this present, and that's Gary and Marin and Richmond tennis. And for those of you who haven't been by the Plunge, they did their spring cleanup, and they did cut back the giant hill in the middle. That has been of late. My husband and I cleaned that area as well too, hangout for homeless and drug addicted people. So there's been feces and paraphernalia and a lot of trash. There've been people living in the bushes there. So they just cut it back. You'll see it's much clearer. It's healthier for the plants, of course, to have room to breathe, but there are fewer people hiding around the Plunge now. I've been working with Michelle because we're there every day and trying to clean that up. Graham, give me a little update on Red Oak, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Phil. Um, June's a big month for us. First of all, we're having our Father's Day pancake breakfast on June the 15th, starting at 9 o'clock. The usual classic pancake breakfast fare. Adults would be $20 and kids are getting in for $5. I think that's correct. Yeah. And then on the following Thursday, which is on the 19th, we're showing our annual showing of Casablanca, whereby we also run a little quiz session on it. We'd love to see you come along. In fact, we'd love to see you there on the 16th, on the 15th, and on the 19th. And it's a great night's entertainment. And for Casablanca, we serve a few drinks beforehand, and we generally have a little sort of cheap quiz on who's the Point Richmond expert on Casablanca. We're continuing to we'll be on our summer visiting schedule, which is on Sunday, open at 10 and close at 4 o'clock. So we would love to see you there. And afterwards, you can always go over to Rigger's Loft and have a drink. Thank you very much.
Fabulous. Thank you, sir. Women's West Side, I don't see Julie here.
No,
I
but
know this.
I'm filling in for Julie. She's just coming back from Hawaii.
Oh,
So
everyone's
thank
going to
you.
Hawaii except for me. All right, go ahead.
So our last month's fundraiser completed our goal to give to 3 local charities. And I wanted to tell you we're given to Rosie the Riveter Trust Service Corps, which is their career program. And they also have a 5-week summer camp for 12 to 15-year-old girls. And the second one was the Bay Area Rescue Mission Women's Shelter. And I went and toured that women's shelter, and I was just amazed how organized and how clean it is. So if you have a chance, they do tours, and give them a call. I think you'd be really impressed if you haven't seen that shelter. And our third charity was Moving Forward. That's an organization that focuses on community service, health, and academics for our Richmond youth. Next Tuesday is our final meeting of the year with a solid potluck fundraiser, installation of officers for 3 openings, first vice, secretary, and this point in time correspondent. It's also our hat day, a fun time to make stories. Miller Knox Park cleanup will be on Tuesday, June the 10th, 10 to 11:30, 12, and then we'll begin our new year 2025, 2026 on September the 9th because of Labor Day holiday. Then we're back to the first Tuesdays of the month. We always are welcome to new members, and thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And again, the gardening project is going to be massive. So
looking so forward to it.
You ladies have been working really hard on that. I'm very excited to basically, for those of you who didn't follow, what the Women's West Side did behind the library when they reclaimed that triangle, that raised triangle garden with a big tree. That's kind of what we're hoping some version of that the entire square will be. Cleaning up underneath the hedges and all around the kiosk. And that's a project between PRNC, Women's West Side, behind the fire station. Everything that's shabby, we hope to make shiny. And then I do have notices from Jim Davis concerning Rosie the Riveter, which is 2 of his phenomenal lectures, Liberty Trains and Double B, African American Experiences in World War II. That's a lecture he'll be doing at Rosie on Thursday, June 12th at 2:30 in the afternoon. Again, Liberty Trains and Double V, African American Experiences in World War II, Thursday, June 12th at 2:30. And of course, you can hop on their website. And then gays, I guess we're probably getting into Gay Pride Month, June, I think. Should know. Gays, Lesbians, and Drag Shows, the Military Experience in World War II. This is a hysterical and bizarre lecture that will be Sunday, June 29th at 2:30 p.m. Gays, Lesbians, and Drag Shows, the Military Experience in World War II, Sunday, June 29th at 2:30. And I think we are just a few minutes over, which is not bad given the, the amount of interest in what the chief had to say. Are there any oh, I'm sorry, I forgot ping pong. Peter, shame on me.
That's okay. It's very forgettable. We had about 6 people. We have about three of our players are traveling right now. So anyway, yeah, it's generally between 6 and a dozen people. And if you have the time on a Monday, it's a nice way to get a little exercise and very social. Even if you don't play ping pong, it's a fun thing to do. So
Yeah, it's been going on. It's like 3-4 years now.
oh no,
5 years?
we started at Rigger's Loft a couple of years before COVID, so we've been doing this a while.
Okay. Anybody want to raise a hand? Any public forum? Thanks, Peter. Not particularly. Any remembrances or celebrations we'd like to talk about?
Well, I just think it might be good for Peter to say where ping pong is and what time, because I can never remember, and I every Monday try to go.
Okay, it's at the Point San Pablo Yacht Club, which is on Cutting, right next door to KKMI, the boatyard there, and it's 5 o'clock until whenever people decide to leave, and as it can be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It all depends on the people and what they're drinking, and you just roll up to the gate and press the button, and we let you in.
Okay, that's great to know that it goes later, because I'm with my elderly women's Scrabble chicken foot dominoes group until 6. We
Well,
used to
bring them along.
yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
It's also listed in the minutes. The address and all that information is also listed every month in the minutes, Jesse.
Yeah, but I'm hoping to attract new people who are listening to this and don't even know where to find the minutes.
And we have plenty of people that don't show up till 6, so it's you don't have to, you don't have to be there on time, and it's very, very informal. And we'll play singles, we'll play doubles. We have 2 tables. If there's too many people for 2 tables, we play doubles.
Okay,
which is actually a lot of fun. So
yeah, that's great. One of my clients, private companion caregiving clients, keeps telling me how much fun the ping pong is at the North Berkeley Senior Center, and I've been envious. So I'm really going to try to make it. Thank you.
One of our players is 87, and 87, and he plays. He's like, he gets there at 5 o'clock and very impatient to play. If we're yapping around the bar, he makes sure that we get up there and play.
Awesome.
So
and Jesse, elderly women there's nothing wrong with that phrase, but please consider from a marketing standpoint the term women of wisdom and experience.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And you know that you are an honorary one, right?
Yeah,
just like
I hope so.
You're in the women. You're an honorary member of the Women's West Side, right?
I think I bought a lifetime membership last time I signed up. All right, and any remembrances or celebrations? I thank you all for hanging in. I know it's a long meeting. I thought it was really, really good to have Chief French speaking so candidly as she is legally allowed to about the challenges and opportunities for the police force. Thank you all so very much. We'll see you next month. We're hoping to have the county parks, to talk about Miller Knox, but I don't know anyone there. So if anybody does, shoot me an email or a phone call, because the board thought it'd be interesting to hear from Contra Costa County Parks Department and see what's going on with Miller Knox. Thank you all so much. Stay safe, enjoy this great weather, and we'll see you soon.
Great job, Philip.
Thank you.